Hello, everybody. This is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters Halloween special edition video. Well, as I promised a couple of days ago, I was going to make this special video here just for Halloween. And the reason for it has to do with this. It's a momentous occasion here on my YouTube channel where I finally captured evidence of a cryptid. So those of you that have followed my channel for years, I've seen your comments. You wanted me to go out there to be able to do more cryptid hunts, trying to gather this evidence, in other words. And who knew? A couple of weeks ago, just doing a casual ghost hunt there at Presidio La Bahia, that's when all of a sudden I captured evidence of La LECHUZA, an infamous cryptid that's here in Texas, specifically South Texas, maybe even more towards the east and west as well. And when I realized that I had that type of evidence, I just knew I had to save it for this special video here. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that here. In this case, it has to do, again, very momentous occasion. I captured video and photographic evidence of La LECHUZA. And I'm also going to talk about La LECHUZA herself, like when it comes to the traits associated with her. And you'll see a bunch of other photographs as well related to my experience there at the Presidio La Bahia. So let's go ahead and let's get things started. So essentially, here's how things began. A couple of weeks ago, I went there to Goliad, Texas, and I was there at the Presidio La Bahia. This is a place I've been to actually 3 times now. This will mark the 3rd time specifically. It's a beautiful, absolutely beautiful place to not just go there during the day as a regular tourist, but if you go there at night, you can actually spend the entire night itself at an area there called the quarters. Essentially, it's like an Airbnb of sorts. You can rent out the place, and when you do so, you have the entire location, the entire fort/mission for yourself. And so it's very popular when it comes to paranormal hunters because as a group, not only do you get to split the cost, but you get to wander about together and then do it like we do, try to find all this beautiful evidence. And there is so much evidence to be captured there. Not only have we captured voices, but we've captured moving images as well. We've also photographed orbs. We've heard footsteps. We've heard music as well coming from the nearby church. We've heard talking of sorts happening in certain areas of the quarters as well. I've heard knocks, like things rumbling when it comes to certain doorways. And no, it's not the wind. It's definitely something moving the actual door itself. We've seen shadow people as well. Lots of great stuff when it comes to this location. And that's because unfortunately there was a massacre that occurred there in the 1800s. So many Texas soldiers killed, and also other type of soldiers, like Mexican soldiers as well. And that's why they purportedly haunt that location. It was actually a precursor to the Alamo itself. So if you go to that location, the Presidio La Bahia, I highly recommend doing so, and then you'll be able to have these type of same experiences too. It's not for the weak as well. So be prepared. If you do go and you start experiencing these things, you might have a chance of having some really good evidence, and some of it is actually pretty scary. So again, be on the lookout for that type of stuff if you do go investigate. So when we went there again as a 3rd time as a group, and in the early time period, we were just there hanging out in the quarters at first, trying to capture some type of EVP type evidence, as you'll see in these pictures here. We were essentially waiting for the nighttime because that's essentially when most of the action starts itself. I did want to point out this photograph too. I started walking around the mission by myself, just trying to take pictures, just trying to find out what things, if anything interesting would go on. And as I was crossing this point specifically, which you're looking at here, that's when all of a sudden I heard a whistle. Who knew? But at that time, it was actually going to be a link to my encounter later on with La LECHUZA. More on that here in a minute as to why there is that specific link. So yes, as I was walking across this location, all by myself, nobody around me, nothing else, no animals, nothing else, that's when I heard that whistle. It sounded something along lines like this, or something like that. It went, and it immediately caught my attention. I knew that something was there trying to make me look in that area. At first, though, I thought it was something paranormal. Like, again, it was one of those fallen soldiers, somebody that was trying to catch my attention from that location. And of course it did so. And then that's when I started asking questions, trying to see if I could get another type of response, but nothing. But who knew that in my case, it actually could be linked more along the lines to LECHUZA. I told the group this as far as that encounter about the whistle, and they, it's just, we chalked it up as another paranormal experience. And so once nighttime came around, we were able to go out and do a full investigation. During the nighttime, that's when we like to do not just photographic evidence, not just video evidence, but also live streams. You've seen me do those various live streams there at the Presidio La Bahia. And then also there's a concurrent one that happens with our Facebook group, the one that we have there for Spectre. And so as we were doing this, we were just hanging out in the area there, very close to where I heard that whistle. And that's a location that's also prime for other type of activity. We would hear knocks as well from the doors behind us. We hear footsteps in the grass from behind us as well. And it's a nice area too because you get to sit down. Very cool in the evenings too, in the nighttime. So it's not like you're going to be sweating out there, and you get to pretty much enjoy everything as is. One thing that I wanted to warn too, if you're out there in the fort, if you're out there in the playgrounds or the courtyards, you want to make sure to watch out for ants. They are very prevalent. Not where the benches are. Luckily, they've been cleared out there. But anywhere else, you just be very, very careful because as you're seeing in this picture here, they're very big. They're definitely something that's going to pack a punch if they end up biting you. So please be on the lookout for it. That's the only thing that I wish there was less of there at the Presidio, because I would love to be able to just take a chair out there in the middle of the courtyard in the dead of night and just sit out there or just lay down and then, not worry about these ants coming across me, because I truly want to experience that type of paranormal phenomenon that's out there. But yeah, we were doing these live streams. We were asking questions, trying to make sure if these soldiers could respond to us. There's a Colonel Fannin that haunts that location as well. We use various pieces of equipment, from a REM pod that lights up to my little ghost meter as well. Some people have brought like other things like dowsing rods. Me, I'm more on the lines of a simpler guy. As long as I have a camera with me and I can take pictures and video, then I'm perfectly fine. And that's what I was doing at that time that we were asking the questions. Now, I'm going to play this momentous clip because as we were doing these questions and me just standing around moving about, the rest of the members were sitting down at the time. That's when we heard the infamous cry of LECHUZA. That's when we heard that screech. It was very eerie. It was something that truly stood out. Like all of a sudden in the middle of the night, like in the dead of night with no other sounds, which is key too because there's really no dogs that are barking in the background. But watch out, you'll start hearing them soon. That's when we heard the cry of LECHUZA, and it was very nearby. It would have been, based on where we're sitting, it would have been above us, above the trees itself, somewhere in the skyline. And what makes it even further eerie is the fact that we didn't hear anything as far as, let's say, flapping of wings. If it was truly an owl, you would think we would have heard something along those lines, at least some fluttering of some type of large wings. But no, we did not. It was just the cry itself. And what was important too is that the cry or the screech of this LECHUZA actually moved from point A to point B. It moved from being in front of us to more on the left-hand side of us as well. So that was also captured on the clip too. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll play it here. And then that way you tell me, what do you think? Is this the actual LECHUZA that was captured? And the reason we know it was her was because Jerry Ray, who is the founding member of Spectre, has encountered her before. He's mentioned that he's during his childhood, he's heard that particular cry as well. He knew exactly what it was. Within moments, it was the very same cry that he's heard of before, very same screech, in other words. And so that's when we knew that that's what we were dealing with at this occasion. So it definitely set the mood for me whenever I heard that screech, because never did I hear that in the past 2 times. For some reason, on this magical 3rd time, that's when it occurred. So let's go ahead. I'm going to play the clip here. It's maybe about 30 seconds plus or so. Check it out. You're going to hear her screech twice. And then when that happens, you're going to also suddenly hear the dogs start barking in the background. Something was setting them off, and that was really eerie as well too. And then also I heard, at least, and the group did as well, a grunt. Like there was almost like a mad grr, like something was grunting in the far background. Unfortunately, I did not capture it on the audio side, but at least let's see if you can hear. So let me go ahead and I'll play the clip now, and then we'll return back here in just a moment.
Like, I don't know, it's moan, but it was a crow.
LECHUZA.
Did you hear that?
LECHUZA. That would be LECHUZA.
That's an owl. No?
What I heard was behind me.
We may have a lechuza out there.
There it goes.
Did you hear that, guys?
It's going that way.
An actual lechuza, which is a bad thing.
Is it supposed to be like half human, half bird?
Did y'all just hear like a grunt over there?
Yeah.
What the hell was that grunt? Did y'all?
It's starting to pick up and the dogs are barking like crazy again.
Something went. It gave me shivers right now. Did y'all? All right, how about that? Isn't that eerie? Feel free, if you wanted to play that clip over and over, just rewind this video here, listen to it. Highly recommend doing it on headphones as well. You can hear her screech, LECHUZA's screech. Well, number one, as she was above us, just right above those trees, and then the second screech shortly afterward as she was moving to another point, this time to the left of us. And then you started to hear those dogs also in the background making their uncomfortable wails because of what was happening. Those dogs were not close by the way. Nearest homes were easily several blocks away. So the fact that this thing was there and all of a sudden causing that to happen in the far background, that's when the dogs knew. Animals knew, right? They always know when something is unsettling when it comes to that. So as far as the next evidence that I wanted to capture was this, and I believe I actually captured something. Could it be LECHUZA herself? Who knows? But I think I captured something on one of the walls right there on the mission itself. My apologies in advance. It's not good quality when it comes to these photographs. It's a zoomed in pic. Like, in other words, it was a regular pic that I was just taking from a location from far away, and then doing my usual inspections. That's when I realized, looking deep into the picture, that something was there. Not in the before picture, but in the after picture it was. And so I zoomed in afterward, and that's why it looks kind of blurry. But I've indicated in a yellow circle what to look for. So first, you're looking at the actual picture itself with nothing. So this is what I recommend too if you're doing any kind of ghost hunts that are out there. Always take before after pics, quick ones, like one shot after the other, because you want to make sure you can debug things and know that there was nothing truly there before or after, to make sure you get the evidence. So you'll see nothing here, but then check this out. All of a sudden you see what looks like something resting on the actual fort wall of the Presidio La Bahia. Very hard to make out, but I believe that something was there. And what I'm going to start doing now is you'll see quick backs and forths between the two pictures, so that way you can see the difference between the two of them. And again, my apologies, YouTube kind of compresses things. It makes the picture even worse when it comes to looking at them in terms of the resolution, but I'm hoping that at least you can still see something faint be on there at the wall. It wasn't there at the beginning when I first took the first picture, but it was there afterward, and this happened after our encounter with the LECHUZA, after the cries that we heard from her. And I'm guessing that this would have been probably a little bit past midnight, like I was doing my own little solo round out there again, this time in the dead of night, and then that's when I was taking these type of pictures. So linking those two together, I think I actually did capture photographic evidence now of LECHUZA. Something was not there before, but now it is, and to me, it looks like a classic type of owl-like creature with the wings folded, like all of a sudden it's there on top of the fort, on top of the fort wall, and it's just peering down from it. And so I didn't realize it was there at the time. Again, this is very, very far away from that specific wall, but looking at the pictures now, I think that's what occurred. Had I known that something was there, then that probably would have been a whole different story. I probably would have been running back inside when it comes to that type of encounter, but I was ignorant at the time. I didn't know that that was happening, and that was it. That was the case. So at least now you've seen video clips, and then also you've seen, or then video clips, audio of it, and then also you've seen photographic evidence of it. Let me know what you guys think. That I actually capture La Lechuza during this ghost hunt there at the Presidio La Bahia? Post your comments, please, below. I'd love to hear what you think about it. Also, let me know, please, what your own experiences are when it comes to La Lechuza. She is something of a cryptid, like something of a major cryptid here in Texas, as I was mentioning earlier. Lots of sightings associated with her, so there's bound to be somebody hearing my voice now that has had some of those eerie encounters as well. And then that way, if you can, please post those comments below. And I wanted to end this video with more information about La Lechuza herself, more like brief type of documentary type information in case you're not too familiar with her. So for starters, La Lechuza is a phrase, a Spanish phrase that literally means the barn owl. And there's a lot of popularity, I wouldn't call it actually popularity, more notoriety associated with her in Mexico. But somewhere along the way, that's when these type of creatures actually were traveling here to Texas, and that's when people have encountered her. The most common appearances is a type of a large owl, and obviously owls are truly out there in the nature world. So how do you tell the two difference, in other words, between each other? Well, the difference is this: one has a regular face of an owl, the other one has the head of a type of old, ugly looking, nasty, decaying type zombie-like woman, like the most horrific thing you can encounter when it comes to those hags, like that haunt people's dreams, in other words, that people have stated when they had those type of paranormal experience. That's essentially the type of face that you'll see here. And so imagine seeing something like that, face of a woman on an owl, and that's essentially what is traveling about in the skies. And this thing with the lechuza is they can make their appearance known physically, either as an old woman in of itself, so regular old woman, or they can morph into this type of cryptid, one that floats about in the air trying to find their next target. And the reason for it is because apparently they like attacking people and then feasting on people as well. As far as the origins of La Lechuza, nobody really has a concrete answer. There's the idea that it could have been women that were murdered by their lovers and now they're out seeking revenge. There's another more nefarious idea that there could have been witches that were killed because of they're practicing witchcraft, and so because of it now they're seeking revenge on the people that killed them. And they just continued to pretty much stay on board afterward, like killing anyone else beyond the people that actually did any harm to them. And there's other type of legends as well involving other type of animals and so on. So it's pick and choose. It's almost like multiple choice when it comes to what you think La Lechuza is. But their attacks can be horrifying. Not only are they known to pick off people straight from the ground, but they also attack cars too. They can carry cars, cause cars to crash, which is a popular thing for them to do. That way they know that the people inside are incapacitated, they can't get out or go anywhere else, and then it's almost like a feasting sensation right there. They apparently can also control some kind of electricity, like they can cause things to lose power, and then it also causes people to stay stuck out there in the middle of nowhere. Very eerie stuff, creepy stuff when you think about it, considering how delicate all of a sudden your situation is with regards to something like that. But the good news, if you can call it that in a loose way, is this: apparently encounters with La Lechuza, if she starts attacking people specifically, it's because those people have done very, very bad things. If you encounter La Lechuza but nothing happens, like in other words, there's no attack of any sort, then apparently it's more like a warning. It's a stating that something will occur either to yourself or someone you know in the future. Like it's almost like an omen of sorts. Remember the Mothman, how those sightings tend to bring about some kind of premonition, some kind of bad doom that'll happen soon. Maybe that's the case here with La Lechuza. And then as far as the signs that you know a lechuza is nearby, there's of course what you just heard in terms of that screech, very, very distinct sounding screech. Another thing too is this, a whistle. Remember that? Remember at the beginning of the video? Apparently if you hear whistles out there in the middle of nowhere, that's when a lechuza is nearby. How about that? That whistle that I heard earlier walking by that tree, I had no idea. I was thinking it was paranormal stuff. I had no idea it could actually have been linked to La Lechuza herself. she was spotting me about since that time period, since earlier in the day. Creepy when I think about that now. So very eerie stuff. And then another thing is storms. When all of a sudden there's a huge storm that's out there, and it shouldn't have been there in the first place. That's another way of knowing that there's a LECHUZA nearby. You can also tell she's nearby by seeing shadows when there shouldn't be. Like, in other words, like you're looking about for a shadow, what caused the shadow in terms of a bird-like shadow, but nothing shows it otherwise. So that's another indication. And then eerily stuff on the audio side is this: if you hear bird songs at night, like in other words, all of a sudden there's like a symphony of birds that's playing somewhere out there, or even worse, you start hearing the cries of a child, like almost like a baby making a little cry trying to catch your attention. That's when you know that the LECHUZA is out there too. She's trying to get people out of the safety of their homes or whatever their location is, and then that way she can make her attack. So if you hear any of that stuff or see any of that stuff, like those shadows, in other words, then be careful, because who knows, especially if you're in the Texas or Mexico area, that's when you'll have the LECHUZA out there, especially when you start hearing those things. I think the audio stuff is going to be a much more indicator than anything else, as opposed to the seeing things, in other words, like shadows and so on. But luckily you do have some protection that you can do if you do encounter La LECHUZA. Apparently salt works. Who knows why, but salt works. If you have salt around you, then that seems to ward her off. Another thing also that's interesting, you can curse at La LECHUZA. Apparently doing this, like cursing the living daylights out her, then that causes her to go away. Who knew that she didn't like anything as far as bad words? And then also, if you avoid eye contact and generally just don't go outside whenever you know a LECHUZA is around, then you'll be safe. For whatever reason, they can't open windows, nor can they open doors. I've heard of stories, though, when I was doing some research on this, I've heard stories of La LECHUZA trying to knock on doors to try to get people to open them. But nothing has happened, like nothing happens from it afterward if you don't do anything. So that's another way of avoiding these type of circumstances. But again, just wanted to present all this information associated with La LECHUZA and more along the lines of more documentary type info to go by. But let me know what you guys think as far as this Halloween special edition video. Did I actually capture not just audio/video proof of La LECHUZA, but also photographic proof? Let me know in the comments, and also your own encounters. I'd love to hear what that is too. I can't wait until I have more evidence of another cryptid. When I do so, you'll definitely be seeing more of these special edition videos too. So, alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed this Halloween special edition video. Have a happy Halloween, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy out there, and again, let me know in your comments what you think about this. Alright everyone, take care.